Every man dies, although many try to prepare for this by writing a will or disposing of property and pets. Until the last days of their life, they are accompanied by social networks. However, they remain with the person even after his death. In this issue of Histographics, we're going to figure out how many dead people are on social networks and what this threatens in the future. In the fall of 2020, American politician Herman Cain tweeted a lot of criticism of the Democratic Party and the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden, who won the controversial election, which is pretty weird considering Herman Cain died back in July. Of course, he was not resurrected. The account description says that the politician's page is run by his family and work team. However, this case clearly shows how social networks are not ready for the appearance of accounts of dead people. Even 15 years ago, at the dawn of the development of Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, and other platforms, the audience was much younger and no one thought about what to do with dead users. Facebook faced the need to somehow label them in April 2007 when there was a mass shooting at the Virginia Polytechnic Institute. The victims were 33 people, and the technical support service had to shield their profiles due to the large number of comments. Over time, the number of deceased users grew, and the problem of digital death became more and more acute. In 2009, Max Kelly, the head of security at Facebook, learned that his friend had been hit and killed by a car and realized that a memorial pages policy had to be implemented. How many dead people are actually on social media? Well, to begin with, let's try to calculate what the population of the most popular social network in the world, Facebook, is all about. As of the second quarter of 2020, there are over 2.7 billion active users, of which 1.4 billion log on to the network daily. Since the platform's appearance, this trend has been steadily growing, and if you add other platforms belonging to Zuckerberg to the statistics, Instagram, WhatsApp, the number of accounts will exceed 3 billion. Also, Facebook has between 10 and 30 million dead users. In relation to the total, this number seems small. Out of almost 3 billion, only 1% of the accounts belong to the dead, but this impression is deceptive. The social network is focused on young people and people living in countries with a high standard of living, so 30 million deaths is quite a lot. It is estimated that every day on Facebook there are more than 500,000 new profiles and kills about 8,000 users. If such growth will continue for decades, the social network will always be about 1.5% of the dead then. Unfortunately, the mortality rate isn't recorded. At some point on Facebook, the number of deaths will exceed the number of live users. Researchers at the Oxford Institute for Internet, Carl Ullman and David Watson, have developed two predictions as to when Facebook will officially become a virtual graveyard. Scenario A, the most radical, if we imagine that the registration in the social network will be available for new users, the number of dead accounts will exceed the alive at about 2065, and by 2100, the platform will be 98% dead people. Half of them, 279 million, will be from India and the Asian region. Scenario B, the most realistic. If Facebook continues to grow at the current rate of 13% a year, then sooner or later the market will come complete saturation stage. Every person on the planet will have an account. Now, in this case, the death of the social network will come in 2110. It is noteworthy that most of the digital dead will be from developing countries in Africa. In the Western countries, only the United States will enter the top 10. Of course, it is unlikely that the use of social media will reach the 100% indicator, so the truth is somewhere in between these two scenarios. But it is clear that with the growing popularity of social networks, when there are even grandparents online, digital dead may become a real disaster. This was first mentioned after the appearance of the function Remember Your Year, which reminds users about the best moments experienced in recent years. Algorithms operate automatically, and often people have seen something that they did not want to remember. So in 2014, Eric Meyer, a web developer, opened his page and came across a reminder generated which was a picture of his daughter Rebecca, who died of cancer. On the other hand, the internet creates a memory of a man. All the posts and reposts, messages, photos, videos, all permanently stored in a digital code. Now, this information can help descendants judge the dead man. And as dead people do not create new content, with a few exceptions like Herman Cain, storage of dead accounts on the servers are cheap. Facebook drew attention to the problem and allows users to set their own preferences regarding what will happen to their account after death. There are two options. First, to turn the page into a memorial, each user can write a farewell message and select the guardian, a trusted person who inherits the page. Then the account also gets the status of a cherished memory. Its contents remain available except for personal messages. The guardian will be able to celebrate the deceased in photos, make new publications, change your profile picture, but won't be able to edit or delete posts of the dead man. If you died suddenly, his page can be inherited by the family member, who sends help desk, death certificates, and proof of relationship. The second option available, note the page to remove the dead. If relatives notified support that an account holder is dead, then the account will be permanently deleted. Instagram arrives at a similar principle. The page of a deceased person becomes a memorial gallery. The account is frozen. Even knowing the username and password, it'll be impossible to go into it, add new photos, history, or to change the profile information. A memorial gallery will be available in accordance with the privacy settings in which a person during his life, but the profile does not appear in recommendations. On Tinder, accounts are deactivated after 1 month of inactivity, which is logical regarding dating. Dead accounts are clearly redundant. On Twitter, in the event of the death of the user, provided only one option to remove a deceased account that irreversibly destroys all the tweets. Relatives can send a request to delete the account of the dead, but in this case, they need to provide proof of identity and proof of death. For most people, it's a waste of time, so Twitter has the best chance to become a virtual graveyard. Sometimes the page is not removed if the user was popular during his or her lifetime, although at times this led to account hijacking. Resonant incidents occurred with the profile of American journalist David Carr, who at the time of death was about 500,000 subscribers in 2015. In 2016, his profile suddenly came to life. First tweets started to appear with questionable content, then the account name was changed to female. But instead of a portrait of the journalist, they put pictures of girls in underwear. The story thundered throughout the country. They even wrote about it in the New York Times. The Twitter account returned to previous form, but company policy about the dead profiles has not been changed. Google Settings topic tactfully does not mention death. Instead, in 2013, the company has provided the option Google Just In Case. The user can set the period of inactivity after which the account will be considered inactive. You can also choose what happens to the data when the owner of the profile no longer is able to use it, to remove or provide access to close people. Now, this function can also be used for another purpose. In case the user forgets the password to the email and will not be able to recover it, then all the correspondence and documents can be attached in advance to bequeath 10 trusted accounts. Thus, the data will not disappear and will appear in your heirs account. With the help of internet services, can be given final instructions and relatives. Posthumous planners are gaining great popularity. For example, the Service Cake offers to fill out a questionnaire, which will guide the relatives of the deceased, how to organize the burial process, what to do with documents, how to dispose of property and profiles in social networks. The Japanese have gone even further. Yahoo and ritual agency Kamakura Shinsho created a service, Yahoo Ending. It collects all passwords on user accounts and sends them after the death of the trustee. But there are more original functions. A farewell message, which is sent to all contacts after the confirmation of death. You can also collect a commemorative playlist or top favorite movies. There's no consensus on how to proceed with the page who left the world of man. Some want to destroy all of the digital footprints of the deceased because any memory might cause severe pain. Some support the removal of accounts for religious reasons. For example, in Indonesia, people believe that the human soul is free as long as there is somewhere to store their photos. Other people do the opposite, cherish profiles and create from it a kind of memorial. The same is done, for example, with a room of the deceased where everything is in place from the time when the owner of the last closed door. But there are those who want to achieve immortality. In 2013, the London creative agency Lean Mean Fighting Machine presented the program Lives On, application with the sonorous slogan, "When your heart stops, you're still going to tweet," generates a message similar to the tweets of the deceased owner of the page. The program identifies the most popular topics, copies your favorite words and phrases, also makes a compilation of accounts that loved the dead person. In fact, the post-mortem tweets look like pieces of old, so much popularity lives on not received. Many companies are developing technology that allows relatives to supposedly receive a message from the dead, so far only in the form of a chat. Beta of bots are already available, which are real-time responses to messages in the style of a deceased person. To do this, the developers have copied all of the available correspondence which was conducted by the deceased and trained neural network. However, now is a great program for a limited number of users, but soon the plot of an episode of Black Mirror could become true. New technologies every day are changing our view of the world and force us to reconsider everything, including such well-established phenomena as death. Even if now you're all right, it is better to take care of accounts on social networks and properly set the post-mortem setting, or at least make a note of your login and password so that others can do everything themselves. Let us know in the comments what you want to do with your accounts on social media after death. As always, don't forget to like, share the video with friends, and subscribe.